Good day, and thank you for joining another recording of Modern Endpoint Management with Citrix Xenmobile. Today we're going to talk about managing Windows 10 Edge browser settings with a custom XML deployed by Citrix Xenmobile. So we talked about it, or I talked about it many times before, is that the world is changing. The endpoints that the users are having are more powerful and really capable of delivering a great user experience on modern apps, and in that scenario the user will use native apps as data on the endpoint, and also wants to browse the internet, of course, to get information or get to web or SaaS applications. And in that scenario, your endpoint will not be domain joined, will not be centrally managed in the traditional way, but will be managed with a modern endpoint solution like a Citrix Xenmobile. And Windows 10 is a cloud-first, a mobile-first design operating system, so it has a load of MDM capabilities that are available for the UEM providers to put into their products. And Citrix Xenmobile has a lot of Windows 10 settings already in the GUI, but not all of them are available, so you can configure those with custom XML. So we're going to do that for the Edge browser. And the Edge browser has a very list of functionality that you can configure. I will show that later on. Some of those settings will be for user experience, provide them with information and tools up front, and the other one are from a security perspective, and we walk through the list that are with the options that are available. But additionally, and maybe that's something for a next session, there is also natively an option available in all the modern Surface like tablets or other Windows 10 laptops provided by different vendors. Is an option that's built in the operating system. It's called Windows Defender Application Guard, and basically what it does, it provides you as an organization to prevent all the new emerging attacks on your users that want to be productive and browse the internet. So what does it do? So Application Guard is a combination of Windows 10 and Microsoft Edge, and it isolates your enterprise-defined untrusted sites and protects your company while your employees browse the internet. So as an administrator, you can define which sites are trusted, which cloud resources are trusted, what internal networks are trusted, and based on those lists, Microsoft Application Guard will open Edge in an isolated Hyper-V enabled container natively on the host operating system, and that container isolates the untrusted sites and protects you from malicious applications, protects the host. The attacker cannot get by the enterprise data. So like I said, that is a whole different topic, but in combination with providing browser functionality, security, and settings, that's a good thing to keep in mind and have a look at. And it also provides you with native capabilities, and you don't have to do any other bells and whistles to provide the user, for example, a virtual browser on other systems. You have that at your fingertips already in the Windows 10 operating system. But moving on, so we're going to discuss the Edge custom XML settings. So what are the requirements from a Citrix perspective? So of course you need the XenMobile service subscription, you need the cloud connector in place, and Citrix Auto Discovery service. Well, that's not a requirement, but it provides you with the best user experience for onboarding Windows 10 endpoints into XenMobile. If you want to have even more out-of-the-box experience, then you can even use Windows Autopilot, but there are additional requirements there. I made a recording of that previously. Have a look at that. The requirements are made in there. And as I always say, Active Directory groups, so you can define and grant the users and which functionality, which application, and which policies, etc., they get. So from a Microsoft perspective, you need, of course, internet connectivity for your Windows 10 endpoint, and your endpoint needs to have Windows 10 Professional, Enterprise, or Education, and then version 18.03 or later. So I put in 18.03 here, but that's because some of the policies with each release of Microsoft, there comes a massive list of new UEM policies, or it's CSP policies, or OMA UI policies, however you want to call them, available. So in this case, some of them are for the older 17 release version, and some of them are for the 18.03. So make sure you have the latest one, and they all are working. If you look at the reference guide on the Microsoft website, it also notices in which version some functionality is there. So which things are we going to do with the Edge browser settings? So first, we're going to prevent the first run page. So initially, when a user opens the Edge browser, it gets a first run page set by Microsoft. So if you set it, this setting enabled or disabled, it prevents the web page from running. Additionally, home pages, maybe as an organization you want to set the home page for the Edge browser to your organization's public website, or maybe to your intranet website. So if you if you use the combination of Microsoft Edge with Microsoft Windows Information Protection, where you can put in the Edge browser in the web container, then you could even use the per-app VPN functionality to make sure that if you define an intranet page as a home page, that underwater the per-app VPN gets started within the web container and creates a secure connectivity to your internal network, so that the Edge browser can reach the intranet website. Provisioning favorites, the same applies here. Maybe you want to list with intranet size here, and again, in combination with WIP and per-app VPN, you can provide that at a secure manner. Also here goes for the application guard, is an additional security layer here. So if you configure that, then you can make a very nice distinguish between what's trusted and not, and everything that's not trusted is run on the Hyper-V container on your native operating system. So you can make a list and you can subfolders, and it's all beautiful. You can do it. So allow search engine customization. If this setting is disabled, users will be unable to add the search engine or change the default one that's used in the address bar. You should use that in the combination with the next policy we're gonna do. So in this scenario, I disable it, and then I set a default search engine. So the default search engine for Edge is Bing, but we want to use Google. So in combination with the set default search engine, I will deploy Google as default search engine, and the user cannot change it. Allow password manager. This one will prevent the pop-up if the user goes to a web page where you need to fill in username and password, and you get the pop-up to save passwords, and in your local password manager on the operating system you see network passwords and website passwords. So that list will be kept clean. You're not asked, or you don't get the pop-up, and it will not save the password in that password management tool of the operating system. So that's, from a security perspective, a nice tool you want to have. Allow developers tools. Normal users don't need developer tools on the Edge browser. So by setting this, you will disable the F12 key, and there will be no pop-up or no enablement of the development tools. And then we get the do not track. So what is the allowed do not track? So do not track is a web browser setting that requires that a web application disable its tracking of an individual user. So when you choose to turn on the do not track settings in your browser sends a special signal to the websites, analytic companies, ad networks, plugin providers, and all other web services you can think of or you can run into. And that signal tells them while you're browsing, stop tracking your activity. You don't hear that very much, this functionality, but it's a nice one as an organization. You don't want to get tracked, so every little thing helps. And the clear browser data on exit, of course. So when you clear the browser, every setting is cleaned, and the user gets a fresh start of the next time he opens the Edge browser. So here are some reference links. I will put them later on in the bottom of the description on the recording. The policy browser CSP, you can find that at the URL noted here. The XML escape version. So if you need to address some changes, so that's okay. The search provider discovery, so that's the thing we're going to use to set the default search engine. So Microsoft Edge follows the OpenSearch 1.1 specification, and there is a URL for Google so that you can automatically provision that. As an additional note, also have a look at Matt Brooks and myself, our blog series at Citrix blogs. And now let's see if we can dive into the settings. So let me first show you the policies on XenMobile. So I have XenMobile here. I have some device policies, and let me see these are the device policies. So if I put in a search to the browser, I have a very strict naming convention here. So these are the 9 policies we're going to set. I have a machine already enrolled with these policies. You already know the enrollment procedure, so I'm not going to bother with you with that again. So here you see this one is added in 1703. These are the custom XMLs. So the same applies to all the other policies. Attach them to a delivery group, and that's it. So let's browse to the recordings to the custom XMLs, so you can get an overview, and I will put them available, make them available later on. So the prevent first run, here's the link to what it says. 1709, most restrictive. It's an integer, so it's basically a 1 or a 0 to enable it. The scope is user of device, so you can set it on device or user level. I did it on the user level, and it's a 1, so employees don't see the first run page. These are very simple XMLs, but well, you have to do it, and it's easier if you can copy and paste it and fill in the stuff you want yourself. Browser home pages, and I just add the Google one, and you see here that are special characters to do that, so you have to use the escape tool to get the correct value in here. Provisioning favorites, so with the favorites they can be stored on a location. So what you do, take an empty machine, create your favorites list there, do an export. That export will provide you with a file. Rename that file to XML. There is an error in the documentation. It says HTML, but if you use HTML, it doesn't work. So it's XML. I already had contact with Microsoft about that. So it can be on any location you want. Network share, well, it's obvious if you put it on the network share, it should be accessible by the user or by the endpoint. I chose for it to put it on a web server I have internally. So here's my URL list. That's it. Allow search engine customization. Well, disabled, not allowed. Very easy, short XML. Set the default search engine. So here is the reference where you can find how the search provider works. And the OpenSearch 1.1. Here are the defaults you can set in the XML to set it back. This is the open search URL for Google. So if you use this one, like I did here, then the Google one is provisioned. Allow password manager. Same here. It's a 0 or 1. In this case, a 0. Not allowed. Allow development tools. Same here. 0. Not allowed. Allow do not track. Not allowed. So that's a setting you can choose. So it's allowed on my side, so I can change it to not allowed. And this is the last one, clear on exit as 1. So allow do not track. Let me edit this one to 0. And let's save it, but that's of course not in the do not track. Let's edit it for fun, because allow do not track. We cannot check that because okay. So we have a demo machine somewhere here. Let me see this. This one is regularly managed, and this one should be Azure Active Directory managed. So it doesn't matter. They both have the policies. So how can you check when your policies are received correctly? So first of all, there are several ways to check it, and there are new ones, so I will show that. So the areas are managed. It's a new section here, so you can see the browser is setting enterprise cloud print and etc. etc. You can easily create a report here, export it. It is located in the C users public documents, MDM diagnostics, and when you open that, you get a great XML overview of the things set. So you get your device information, your connection information, the management account. Nothing very interesting for now here, but if you scroll down, you will see that there is a section here which areas are managed. So if you scroll down, you see here all the browser policies that are set. So that this is a way to check if which value is there, which configuration is done, and on which user. So it's on user 1, and there also should be some device level. So if you set a policy to device, it will change that. So that's nice. Another nice thing of this is that you also have an overview of all the options that you can manage with XML, and these are the things that are not configured. So that's a great list. Another place to look for it, and that's quite new, is in your, or well, not quite new, but you have to find it, is in the HKey local machine software Microsoft Policy Manager of your registry. So there is an overview of all the settings that are available. That's this one. And as soon as you configure one of these policies, it will go to your current and then on device or on user level, as you saw in the report. So all the browser settings are here. So that's also a way if you can check the setting is done. And of course the last one is check your event viewer. So if you your event viewer and then go to the device management enterprise diagnostic provider, and you can see here, if you scroll down, the events that here are the cloud print, custom XMLs deployed, etc., etc. Here the search domain and the set default search engine, the XMLs, etc., etc. So these are 3 ways to find it. But for now, let's go to the browser and see what settings we have done. We open it, and the first one is gone. You see that the home page is defined to Google. If we open up the favorites, you see that they are managed by my organization, and here are the favorites that I have configured. I see a nice lock with it. I cannot delete them, but I can add my my own. So I can create a folder. This one I did previously, so I can show you that I can delete it. So blah 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 blah. I can do things, and if I click here on add to favorites, you see it's getting a pop up and up. It's there, but not with a lock in it. So for some demo purposes, I will just fill in some blank websites, so we can fill in the history. Citrix Xenmobile, of course. And if you can look, you see in the history page now that we have some information. So that will be good if we close down, and all the information should be shut down. For the other settings, you see also here, Open Edge with Google is grayed out. You cannot edit it. You can see the advanced settings that here are also settings managed by my organization. You see the autofill password is disabled, and you see the do not track requests are on. So the setting was good in my XML. You also see that the search engine is set by Google, and you cannot change it. So all nice settings. All the settings we have set are working. So now let's check the password manager. So normally, let me check if I can manage here. So here are the here's the credential management, and you see that there are no web credentials. So normally when you go to a website where you need to log in, just say Twitter for instance, log here. I log in with my username and with my password. Normally you will get a pop-up here, and let's say, would you save your password? Well, it doesn't do that. So let's check the credential manager again. Nothing saved there. And next time when I go to this page, so it says log out, and we can do a check on the history. Now again, so the history is empty. Oh well, we can do it even now. So if I said login, even as I checked the remember me box, there's nothing in there. So it cleans it up all nicely. If I close the browser and I go back to opening again, you should notice that the history bar is empty except Google. That's opened again. So all the stuff is working. The F12 function, don't forget the F12 function. So F12 not working. So all good. So again, thanks for watching. Have a look at Matt's and myself blog on Citrix blogs, and thank you very much, and see you next time.